Hi, everybody. Louis Goyard, so working for BSO. A bit of background on BSO. We are a connectivity provider, mainly providing private lines between financial exchanges. That's how we started. And then we acquired iXRich, which was doing pretty much the same thing, but towards the internet exchanges. So that's pretty much the same idea of both worlds, is having better latency, better quality of service towards the actual assets, which is the financial exchange or the internet exchange. So I was supposed to do that presentation 6 months ago in April. Unfortunately, I got COVID. And COVID is also why I'm presenting that topic. You've all experiencing it. Since the start of the pandemic, companies have started to change the way they work. They are now looking after remote, not remote peering, but remote work, more entitled to let their end users and their employees work from home. Before pandemic, I would say that an open company was having or allowing 1 day a week of working from home. Nowadays, it's more like 2-3 days, which is good. But it also means that they need to change the way they've created their architecture. And they have to cope with the fact that we are both working on an office and working from home. And sometimes our home is not really our home. It can be our parents' house, our friend's house, by the sea or anywhere else. So you have, those companies have pretty much, had pretty much a simple way of handling things before. You all know that. We were all, as an employee, in the offices. Our connections and our data were either stored in that same office or into an on-premise site, data center, and we had private lines between those offices and that data center or internet connectivity. Few of the connections were also into the cloud provider. It's becoming more and more popular, obviously. And we had few remote users. Obviously, we are all here for a conference, and we've all been doing conferences for quite some time. So we already knew how to deal with that. What they have to, what the companies have to accept nowadays, it's not only the users are more and more going out, it's more users than they were expecting before, but our applications also are going out. So we have that multi-cloud and hybrid solutions where, as a company has done an IT system, you need to cope with your on-premise applications, your cloud applications that are either private or public cloud, and then mixed between Azure, AWS, Google, and all the other ones. So it's a redesign, and that will be a constant redesign from now on, I would think. And that constant redesign means that we need to have a serious look at the way we build our network, the way we maintain the same level of security that we had before. Oh, losing my mic. We going from a one connectivity to an outside connectivity where our end users or our employees, let's say, are all into remote site is totally different. And the question is, if you're working, obviously we were all having VPNs before, and now the charge of the VPN is even higher than before. But we knew how to do it. It's the scale of doing so, and then the pattern of our traffic towards those end users that is changing. So, and that last point is where I see the benefit of the internet exchanges thriving this change, is we're going to have more and more people and more content towards the end users and towards the retail site or our home site, let's say. And we're going to need those persons to be connected to the internet exchanges in order for them to maintain or get the same level of quality of service, same level of latency, same level of security that they had before. or at least make them think that they have the same level, or make them experience the same level of quality. So we all, we're all here for the internet exchanges, and we're all here for Netnod, and we saw it during the first weeks of the pandemic. The traffic grows exponentially. We took a big hit, and we managed to cope with it, that's for sure. And we see that the traffic is still growing even more. And what I think is our new way of putting our architecture together is to think of the internet as the key, the heart of the network, and not thinking of private lines anymore as the main solution. I do think that if we are able to maintain and put our workforce into the internet world and build our solutions with the internet solution, then it won't be too much trouble to go back to the physical and private world. So that's all my topic is the digital architecture first, where you have the internet that is the key role of the market and the key player of our network. So having that internet which is linked, obviously, to all the internet exchanges and all the different eyeballs. Obviously, you're going to have that fight that we see already between the content provider and the eyeballs. Who is the stronger between the two? There is always that fight, and there's going to be that fight again. We can compare that with the mobile world, for instance. For those who are familiar with the IPX, we know that there are paid peering relationships, and it's them on the internet as well, but less popular, let's say. But we know that we're going to have to look after those peering points even more closely and trying to lower the gap between our eyeballs and our content. So staying on that comparison with the IPX world, there is a rule that says as a sender, you have to get at most 2 AS number between yourself and your receiver. I don't think that's possible on the internet, but I think we should try to make it happen, or build our solution in the sense of lowering as much as possible the AS number in between our receiver and ourselves. And that obviously comes with having more and more people connected to the internet exchanges and having the eyeballs offering the path to the internet exchanges as well. And so that's the part of, let's say, the internet exchanges. Then the offices and the retail buildings that are hosted, the employees will also need to have a better connectivity towards the internet and towards the end users. So that's already the case. It's not too difficult to provide. And then you have all your applications that are evolving around that scale, maybe your ERP or Gmail base or Outlook, whatever you're using, your RDS database. All that will have to be compliant with all the security and maybe the ISO certification that you need to fulfill. And all that will need to be as close as possible to your end users once again. So, for instance, if I take the case of an employee that is, or all of us, we are today on our laptop, on our phone. It's not the same of ensuring that we are ISO compliant with 27001, 27501, when everybody is in the office having a laptop that is given by the company that is sitting on the desk, and when we all have remote laptop, remote phones, and we can pretty much access whatever data we want. So it's all that work that we need to keep in mind when doing it. So obviously you all know that because you're here and you're peering with the internet exchanges, and we all have that networks. But I think that businesses in the future will look more into the way their traffic goes, finding out which providers are fitting into, or which transit providers are fitting into which use cases. May it be, once again, your traffic towards your RDS database or towards something else. You know that by having more and more people connected to you and being connected closer to you, you manage as much as you can the interruption of service, the quality issues as well. If you have 3 middlemen between you and your server, it's easier to troubleshoot than if you have 50 different AS number or 50 different providers. So that's the overall idea in the back. Obviously, the resiliency is key, and that's where the internet comes. By itself, we have many routes available to anybody on the internet, so we always find a way to overcome that. And then on the topic of having the ownership of the traffic and having those use cases, that's where you can also manage your cost, because you know that one transit provider won't fit all the different use cases. Obviously, we are all looking for one-stop solutions, because on the budget side and having only one interlocutor in front of us when we have an issue is easier to manage than having 3 or 4 different interlocutors. But on the contrary, when we have specific transit provider for specific item and specific traffic pattern, we should know where the issue comes from, and if it's for our coming to our server or coming to our hybrid cloud solutions, we know if we have someone providing either direct link to the cloud or if we are using the internet and a specific internet to those cloud. I'm going to emphasize on those private connectivity to the cloud. You surely are using AWS Direct Connect or Azure Express Route or all those kind of things. Something we've realized by working with them is they are normalizing the latency from their edge devices to their server farm. It's in the same metro area. So if you connect to them in Frankfurt and you have your server hosted into the Frankfurt regions, depending on AWS or Azure, you'll see that there is 1 to 3 milliseconds latency between the edge device and the actual server, which is pretty big when you think that it's within the same metro area. 3 milliseconds is pretty much 300 kilometers, so that's a lot. We could go back to almost go back to Paris with that. So I think that when you have the connections towards the exchanges and private connections from the eyeballs and from the content provider toward the exchanges, then you manage better the latency that you have from your processing environment to your eyeballs, and you lower that in essence. One of the key point that I wanted to say here is we, as the end user, should be as well in the heart of that digital change. So I was saying that internet will be the main key for that, but in the end, it's us using the internet. It's us using all those tools, even though there are processors in the back of it that are on the other side. But the idea is to reduce as much as possible the latency to the extent of what we can see. Obviously, if we are watching streaming on Netflix and there are those are images, and those images are too fast for us to recognize them as photos, obviously. So that's the limit. We don't have to be as fast as possible. We just need to be faster than what we need to process. So the end users being us, being the key, where we move every time, everywhere. We are, as I said, working from home, and our home can be in Paris, in London, or somewhere else the next week. That's the idea of, I think, the SD-WAN connectivity that is becoming more and more popular for businesses. At some point, I think that we're going to be able to put that SD-WAN solution into the end user's hands at home. So for those, a bit of background about the SD-WAN, the idea is to use whatever DIA, fiber, 4G access you have in the office to be able to direct your traffic back to your server. And to some extent, we're going to have that at home as well. In fact, 2 years ago, I had a customer coming to me saying he was a consultant for a video producing company. And he was experiencing this remote work, and they were asking for devices, let's say, put it at home for their end users to be able to put their content with 20 meg to 3 or 3 gig of traffic at home and use that whenever they wanted. It's an ideal world. Obviously, we are not able to do that at this day. And we're going to have loads of time before we do it. But that's where I think we should aim at, having not so much the automation capabilities of using the whatever traffic we have whenever we want. It's more using the traffic whenever we are, wherever we are, and to wherever it's being sent. And I think that will be the end of my presentation. And I was pretty quick on that. So I'll take all the different questions that you have. That's my vision of the internet in the next 5 to 10 years. So if you don't agree with me, that's fine. We can totally have a talk about it.
Any questions?
I'll take the questions.
And if they do disagree, they can come to you at the social.
Yeah. I'll be at the social. Happy to share ideas. If you don't agree with me, I'm totally okay as well, and we can talk about that.
Well, thank you. Please join me in thanking Louis for his presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.